production.
Omar,
Hey, what's up, man?
how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Now, where are you originally from?
I was born in Jamaica, but I grew up in Miami.
Okay. So, do you remember anything about Jamaica before
Oh
you
yeah, I
moved?
remember a whole lot about Jamaica because I was in Jamaica until I was 15. So I think it gave me my foundation for even like starting a business and all of that stuff. I remember a lot about growing up in Jamaica.
Okay. So, also growing up in Miami, what was that experience like?
It's you get tossed into in Jamaica. I grew up in a rural town, so everybody is the same. You know everybody. Every families are close. It's a small community. When I went to Miami, it's a big melting pot with everybody. You meet people from different country, you experience different foods. It's just a completely different experience. So you get tossed into this melting pot, and you have to adapt and adjust and learn different people culture and all of that stuff. So it was a wonderful experience.
Okay. So, what is the difference between Miami versus Jamaica?
The difference is, as I said before, was mostly like Miami is more diverse. Miami is very international. There's people there from all over the world. You meet people from different culture, and just you're gonna have friends. I had a lot of friends from even different Caribbean islands have different culture. Haiti have a different culture than Trinidad, than Barbados, than St. Lucia. And then, I have a lot of friends that were from South America. You meet people from Europe, Turkey, Greece, Australia. So all of that, just learning those new cultures and adapting and enjoying, the experience. So that's the main differences.
Okay. Do you have any family still in Jamaica?
Oh yeah, most of my family, most of my relatives are in Jamaica. Most of my uncles, aunts, cousins are still in Jamaica.
Okay. Now, are you big on family?
Very big on family.
Okay. Now, how did you get into the, restaurant business?
Well, I got into the restaurant business because when I was in high school, they last 2 years of high school they try to get you to focus on what kind of career you're gonna do, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So out of all the options on the paper, I picked culinary, which surprisingly, I excelled at it. When I excelled at it, I end up going to Johnson and Wales University to study restaurant management, and that was my gateway into the food business. From there, I took a management position with several large companies. I worked at the Hard Rock Cafe, I worked at Dave and Buster's, I worked at Chili's, ultimately ending up at Delaware North, which is a large concession company, which means they manage airports, arenas, stadiums. So that was my segue into the business. Then eventually, when I feel like I was ready, I left and I opened Reggae Shack, which I built into a multi-million-dollar brand. I opened several other brands, ultimately buying out a couple other companies and just grew that way.
Okay. Now, how long have you had the Reggae Shack?
20 years.
Okay. Now, you have more locations here in town, or
So I had four locations. I had the three restaurants, Twisted Peacock, Southern Charm Kitchen, and I bought a catering company that was around for about 40 years. I'd rather not say the name, but that paid off pretty well. So I grew to over 100 employees, about $3-4 million a year, and I grew the business up to this point, but I'm now transitioning to other arenas of business that I'm still in the process of unveiling, so I won't mention them here, but I've transitioned since then into other business where restaurant is not my primary business right now. So it's I'm kind of on the tail end of the restaurant industry, and hopefully moving on to bigger and better things.
okay. Now, how does it feel to have your own business?
Feels great. Feels great. It's a wonderful experience. I'd recommend anybody to open a business one time in their life. It's definitely a different experience from being an employee. Um, I was a great employee. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to open a business, make sure you're a great employee first, because a lot of the businesses that I ran before I opened my own, I ran it as if it was my own. I was dependable. I focused on growing sales. I treated it as my own before I ventured out into my own. But I strongly advocate for people who are trying to open their own business. I think every human being should try to run their own business at least even one time.
Okay. Now, would you be passing down generational wealth?
Hopefully, you know, um, that's the goal. That's the hope. I have four kids. So hopefully there's something to pass down to them. And generational wealth does not necessarily mean finance or money. It could be knowledge, it could be experience, it could be connection, it could be assets. So I know I'm imparting a lot of the knowledge to my kids now, even now while I'm on alive. 'Cause when you say pass down, you think more of when you're in your twilight years. So I feel I'm already starting to build a legacy and show my kids certain things that I've learned, my experiences in life.
Okay. Now, as a boss, do you pay your employees first and pay yourself last?
Always, always.
Okay. So, how important that is to other bosses?
I mean, it's what a business is. People trust you in a business because of, as human beings, we're selfish. And when you're in a leadership role, leadership versus being a boss, when you're in a leadership role, people will trust you and follow you because their interest is aligned with yours. And one of those is financial, of course. But it's just overall how you treat people, um, how you align interests. And you're going to find people that, they don't rock with you because you're not that they're bad, not that you're bad, but your goals don't align at the moment. But the people you have on your team, I have people that's been with me for 9 years, I have people with me for 5 years. I've had people that work with me for 8 years and, a very long time. People that work with me until they retire, a very long time, because not just because of the finances, but of the great relationship we have and making sure their goals are aligned with mine. Maybe, and it's not just paycheck. Maybe sometimes I have to bail them out of a personal situation, or I have to speak up on their behalf, or look at some paperwork for them and all of that stuff. I make myself available in many different ways that one.
Okay. So would you say that you're the boss that's accessible to your employees?
100%.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know, what all type of stuff does the Reggae Shack Cafe sell and serve?
So the Reggae Shot Cafe sells Jamaican food, exclusively Jamaican food. Certain dishes I've taken the liberty of putting my own spin on it. The goal of the Reggae Shack was to present a casual Jamaican restaurant that didn't exist. You have high-end Jamaican restaurant and a lot of fast food. When I entered the game, I realized that there was a big gap in the middle for casual. And when I say casual, that's your Chili's, that's your TGI Fridays, that's your Applebee's. So I realized that space was open in the Jamaican space. While we were renovating the restaurant and getting it open, we had a lot of inquiries for vegan food. So because of those inquiries, we added vegan food to the menu, which worked out wonderful for us. We sell a lot of vegan food, and it's what tips the scale for us. And when I say what tips the scale, is that if we're on equal par with another restaurant, we do the same volume of business, we're gonna outbeat them because we also have the vegan menu. That is a strong part of our brand.
Okay. Now, what advice would your present self carry on to your future self?
That's a very, very good question, and it's being in the present. Being in the present, follow your instinct, and everything is an opportunity. No matter how bad the situation seems, no matter how dark it seems, it's an opportunity. And I think a lot of people trick themselves out of position. You get in your mind, and something might happen to you, and you start being fearful, you start being doubtful, and you get in your head, and you trick yourself out your position. So stay in the present and don't trick yourself in position. If there's something that's overwhelming you, step back for a second, assess, analyze, and attack it again. If you have to do that 100 times, do it 100 times. But most people fail because they fail in their mind, not because of outside factors.
Okay. Now, which one you enjoy more doing? Running the restaurant or cooking the food that y'all serve?
Running the restaurant.
Okay. Now, would there be any more locations here in town?
No, not at the current moment. That's not my focus at the moment. The focus at the moment is just make sure this one stay on top of the game. It's 20 years, just making sure that it's maintaining its legacy and all of that stuff. And as I said earlier, my energy is really focusing on other ventures right now that should reveal themselves in the near future.
Okay. Now, do you have any last words?
Um, so like I'm about to be executed. No, well, last words, I'd say that again, everything starts and ends in your mind. Keep your mind strong. You will face challenges when running a business, but every challenge is opportunity. Be open, be open, listen to people, take ideas, but ultimately trust your instinct. And I feel like that's a good recipe for success.
Okay. Now, is Omar the man the same as Omar the business owner?
I'd say yes and no. I think at the core, my values are the same. What I stand on is the same. But I feel like when you're running a business, you have to wear many hats. And it changes how you interact with people. You're a different type of animal when you're with a bank trying to negotiate to get a loan to grow your business versus when dealing with a customer that comes in every day and it's a regular versus when it's busy and you got to get the food out or versus you had a staff party or whatever it is. You wear many hats. So at the core, my values are intact, but I have to wear many hats and show different parts of my personality based on the situation and the environment that I'm in.
Okay. Now, can it be stressful sometimes? Running your business day to day.
It can, but it goes back to the theme of what I'm saying. It's in your mind. Stress is stress. How you handle it, how you filter it, how you approach it, how you attack it, that dictates how stressful it is, you know? And for me, it takes experience to realize you know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are, and when you have a lot of the same situations that stress you out over and over, eventually, if you're paying attention and adjusting, you'll develop a formula, a recipe to deal with it, and you'll be all right.
Okay. So, would you say when the stress comes about, you just somehow like mellow out in your mind and just stay calm and,
You
you know,
adjust. Sometimes you need to be calm, sometimes you need to put your foot down and kick some butt, you know? So there's not one size fits all. You adjust to the situation and do what you need to do.
okay. Now, what you also say is whatever you start, it's good to also finish it.
Not always. Because sometimes you are invested in something or a person, a situation, and you need to cut your losses and move on. So a lot of times you're trying to finish things that don't need to be finished. You need to take the L and move on. So sometimes it's good to start what you finish, and sometimes it's not.
Okay. Now, what is the future for Reggae Shack Cafe?
Only God knows. You know, as I say, I'm focused on the present. I'm very invested in the present right now, and I'm just focused on that right now.
Okay. Now, would you say that you have a relationship with God?
I do. I'm a Christian. I go to church. I go to a live church. So definitely,
Okay. So, how important is God to you?
100%. You can achieve more in the spirit than you can do through hard work.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know God yet, don't have a relationship, would you suggest they start a relationship with God someday?
I feel like everybody have a relationship with God. How you function in that relationship is up to you. But you know, everybody have a relationship. Are they active? They're not active, but it's impossible. Just because somebody don't go to church or they're from another religion or culture, trust me, God is present everywhere, anywhere. You know.
Okay. Well, Omar, thanks for your time.
Thank you for the interview.
You're welcome.
All right.